Is there, hidden in the ordinary hour, a power so quiet it is missed by the noisy mind? Can frequent brief silences truly transform a day? A most positive yes. Yes, without any mental hesitation or reservation. For we are not asking silence to do what only God can do. We are consenting that in the space of a breath, the truth of being announce itself as our very life. Before Abraham was, I am. The self that pauses is older than the clock, elder to the calendar, untouched by the page that turned. And so we are not adding a luxury to an already crowded schedule. We are returning to the ground of I am, from which any true schedule may be born and blessed. You and I know the sensation of the anxious, clock-bound self, watch in one hand, worry in the other, measuring minutes as if salvation were on a stopwatch. We have all tried to pull harmony out of ours, as if more effort could mint more peace. But God works in the infinite nowness. The grace you seek is not hidden at 5 o'clock or after the meeting or when the children sleep. It is here, where you are, when you stop manufacturing moments and let the eternal say, I am. Be still and know that I am God. Not be smart, not be swift. Be still. The promise must be named plain. We will not rest in vague aspiration. We will set a cadence that is love's own metronome. 8 pauses today, and when love has made the way, 10. And after that, 12. And, yes, 20 tiny silences. Many times watch life rewire, not long retreats from the world, not the drama of heroic renunciations, but the simple sacrament of frequent brief turning. 8, 10, 12, 20. Each pause a doorway. Each doorway the same room. The results compound because grace is cumulative in consciousness. Every consent becomes another thread by which the invisible weaves order through your visible affairs. What is the aim? Not escape from life, but entrance into life as it is. Not stepping out of the kitchen or the clinic or the classroom, but stepping out of the tiredness of thought about them and stepping into the one that lives them. The dishes, the deadlines, the diapers, the contracts, these remain. But the sense of a personal self carrying the universe on its back quietly lays down its load and whispers, thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. I am not making the stars come out, nor the moon to rise, nor the sun to set. I am perfectly content to let God run the universe, and this household, and this business, and this breath. You will say, how shall I begin? Begin with a most positive yes. Yes to 8 pauses today. Yes to 10 soon. Yes to 12 and 20 when love ripens the will. This is not penance. This is permission. Permission for God to be God as your day. With each brief silence, the mind ceases its grinding and becomes what it was ordained to be, a witness. I and the Father are one. In that oneness, the frantic reorders itself as flow. The scattered recollects as single purpose. The tangled unwinds in its own season because its root has been reached. So let us agree, you and I, tiny silences will be our decisive discipline. Not to beg favor, but to reveal favor. Not to postpone life, but to behold life. We will mark the cadence not with strain, but with joy. And as we do, you will discover an ancient fact living in the center of a modern day. The self that says yes in a single breath is the self that was before Abraham. And it is the same self by which this hour steadies, sweetens, and is made whole Now let us look directly at this clock that bullies the mind and seems to portion out our life into slices and scraps. God works in the infinite nowness. Presence is not measured by minutes. Spirit does not arrive at 9, improve at noon, and retire at 5. Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever. What is this but a witness that reality does not run on our schedule? We practice in moments because reality is momentless. The pause is not a fragment pulled from time. It is a window opened in timelessness. Think of your day as beads: morning bead, meeting bead, errand bead, supper bead, slipping along the string of your awareness. But the beads are not your life. The invisible thread is your life. You have no time and I have no time, only now. And this now is not a dot that moves. It is a presence unmoving, in which the beads appear and disappear without disturbing the thread. Before Abraham was, I am. Not was, I am. The ancient now and this very now are one and the same, indivisible, unspent, unaging. Now you have all felt it on a lake or river sitting in a little rowboat. You pull at the oars and the shore passes house by house, tree by tree, as if life were a parade. But imagine we rise. We ascend in a balloon, and at once the same shoreline reveals itself whole, not house by house, but village and field and water, as one single seeing. In the rowboat, you say, here, then there, then later. In the balloon, you say, here, still here, only here. Nothing changed but vantage. That is the logic of spirit. On the surface of time, we row from task to task and call it progress. In the altitude of presence, we see that all is already given in one boundless now. Our pauses are not escapes from the water. They are lift. We are taken higher without leaving where we are. Kitchen remains kitchen. Clinic remains clinic. But awareness rises, and with it the tyranny of sequence dissolves into a single beholding. Do not mistake this for idleness. The silence is not a recess period between labors. It is the sanctuary in which labor is transfigured into service. Not from work into idleness, but from hours into presence. When you enter the pause, you do not abandon responsibility. You relinquish the hallucination that responsibility begins and ends in you. The mind rests from its tired manufacture. Spirit lives its own life as you. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and do nothing. Be still and know. And in that knowing, action arises unlabored. Wisdom comes untugged. Love moves without push or pull. Here is the practicality that our anxious self doubts and our deeper self has always known. When the now is real to you, felt, tasted, trusted, interruptions become altars. The phone that vibrates becomes a bell of the monastery. The child who calls from the other room becomes a psalm. The delay at the crossing light becomes a sanctuary lamp. You do not have to love delay. You have to love God in delay. You do not have to enjoy interruption. You have to recognize the presence that cannot be interrupted. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. The world of schedules may end and begin 100 times before lunch, but presence does not start and stop. It simply is. And in this isness, our hours find their right order. So we will use this 8, 10, 12, 20 cadence, not as a ruler to measure holiness, but as a ladder that vanishes as soon as it has raised us. Each tiny silence is the same opening. I in thee, and thou in me. Each opening is the same assurance. I and the Father are one. And as this becomes our habit, the beads shine, the thread holds, the rowboat rows without strain, and the balloon hovers within. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, now, and now, and now. Now let us be plain about this faculty we have been taught to worship as master. The mind is not creator. It is an instrument of awareness. It is a window, not the sun, a lens, not the light, a receiver, not the broadcast. The trouble begins when we set this delicate instrument to grinding out reality as if harmony could be manufactured by thought. Then comes the fatigue, you know too well, the heaviness behind the eyes, the rope of worry drawing tight across the chest, the feeling that if you stop thinking for one moment, the world will fall apart. That is not dominion, that is bondage. In the pause, we outgrow that superstition. We let the violin rest from pretending to be the musician. We let the aperture be still so the light may pour through. Rest from the tiredness of thought. Lay down the private attempt to make good, to make safety, to make supply, to make love, behave. Take no thought for your life, not because indifference is holy, but because life, in its very being, is provision and order and rhythm beyond our contriving. The first deep kindness you can practice toward your own mind is to stop asking it to be God. Let it be what it is, a witness and a servant, a clear glass held up to the invisible. Be still and know that I am God. Not be busy and guess, not be clever and calculate. Be still and know I am not making the stars come out, nor the moon to rise, nor the sun to set. I am perfectly content to let God run the universe. And if God is adequate to galaxies, God is adequate to this phone call, this invoice, this child's fever, this boardroom. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Not mine, not yours, not theirs. When we consent to that order of being, the strain drains out of our doing. Tasks do not vanish, but toil as necessity does, action as transparency appears. We are not passive, we are permeable. Spirit acts itself through an instrument that has ceased pretending to be the actor. And here is prayer as it truly is. Not words persuading a distant power to notice a local emergency, but a divine impulse felt within, received, not manufactured. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and the closet is not wood and door, but the inner stillness. And thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Matthew 6-6. The answer to prayer is the awareness of God, an impulse, a nudge, a certainty, a quiet, yes, rising from no human source. Elijah did not find God in the wind or the earthquake or the fire, but in a still small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. That voice is not vocal cords. It is the felt movement of spirit in its own field. It does not argue. It does not defend. It does not report to the mind. It reveals to the heart, and mind is then free to carry out, humbly and efficiently, what has already been given. So we set our intention for these pauses: reception over invention, awareness over will, being over doing. The 8-10-12-20 cadence becomes our practiced yes to hearing. In each silence, we do not push for visions or squeeze out answers. We abide as listening. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. 1 Samuel 3-9. And whether nothing seems to happen or much seems to happen is no measure of success. Presence is the point. Sometimes the fruit appears as an idea. Sometimes as a phone call at the perfect instant. Sometimes as the heart losing its fear without a single circumstance changed. Do not credit the pause as cause. Recognize the pause as clearing the window. So reality already present may be seen. I and the Father are one. Say it not to hypnotize yourself, but to align the instrument to the music that is playing, whether you listen or not. The mind quiet, spirit at work. Not invention, but reception. Not demand, but consent. Not strain, but flow. And in the small obediences of these brief silences, the old habit of mental manufacture loosens its grip. You discover you do not have to hold the world together. The world already is together in God. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? No schedule, no crisis, no memory, no forecast. Nay, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. Romans 8:35-37. Thine is the kingdom, thine the power, thine the glory. Let the instrument rest, let the music play. Now let us make this plain and tender, so tender a child could keep it. A pause is not a performance. It is not a petition. It is not a rummaging in the mind to find holy words. A pause is 30 to 90 seconds of inward turning, no petition, simple beholding. I lift my attention not up to a sky, but into the secret where God already is. Sometimes I let one sentence be the doorway, not to persuade, but to remember. I and the Father are one. And having entered, I do not decorate the room. I sit. I listen, not with ears, but with consent. I do not measure thought. I yield to presence. And when the half minute or the minute and a half is complete, I may seal it with a simple doxology, not as a ritual to move God, but as the heart's acknowledgement. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Then I return to the task at hand, carrying what cannot be carried, because it carries me. The cadence, then, is love's scaffold for this beholding. 8 pauses today, measured, gentle, cumulative. When grace has familiarized the instrument with the rhythm, 10. When the rhythm has entered muscle and memory, 12. And when love itself requests and supplies it, 20. Do not leap because of zeal, grow because of love. These are not random snatches of piety. They are a metronome for consciousness. Just as music lives not only by notes, but by rests, so your day finds its true line and phrasing by these rests. The minutes of silence are short. Their reach is long. Each one leaves a trace, and tracings become a path. And the path becomes a way you no longer have to remember, because it remembers you. How shall you keep the time? Gently. Some will set a soft chime on the hour. Some will choose thresholds before opening a door, before answering a call, before the keys touch the keyboard, before the hand reaches for the kettle. I do not legislate. I invite. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and the closet is wherever inwardness gathers in an instant. Matthew 6:6. 8 pauses that are real are to be preferred above 20 performed. The numbers serve the spirit. They are form to cradle the formless. If a pause is missed, there is no penalty. There is only the next breath and the next yes. The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. So with our cadence, it is a gift, not a yoke, a rhythm, not a whip. Feel the texture of it. In the space of half a minute, the hurried self softens, the grip on the outcome loosens, the invisible thread becomes felt again. The metronome does not scold, it steadies. Tick, return. Tock, release. Tick, behold. Tock, consent. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and think. Not be still and plan. Be still and know. And the knowledge is not a thought you make. It is an awareness that rises. The mind grows acquainted with being a clear glass and ceases to impersonate the sun. You do not try to hold the silence. You let the silence hold you. And in that holding, the next right word, the next right step comes without fray or fret. Let me say again the refrain that fits the doorway and the seal, not as magic syllables, but as a tuning note. Enter with, I and the Father are one. Linger without language. Seal, if you like, with, thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Do not cling to these words as if they did the work. They are the light switch, not the light. The light is God. Before Abraham was, I am. That I, that is before seconds, is the same I that abides during your 30, your 90, and after. We are not installing presence. We are consenting to know it. Some of you will say, can so small a span do so large a service? A most positive yes. Consider the heart within your chest. It does not work once and retire. It keeps a cadence, systole and diastole, give and receive. Your pauses are the diastole of consciousness, the receptive half of living. In 30 seconds, the nervous system tells a different story to the body. In 90 seconds, the mind discovers it can rest without losing a single necessary action. Take no thought for your life, not as an excuse for indolence, but as a release from false authorship. You will find that in these rests, thought becomes servant again, supple, precise, obedient to a deeper wisdom. And remember the flexibility that is the kindness of God. If 8 cannot be kept on one day, keep 5, keep 3, but keep them true. Tomorrow you begin again 8, then 10, then 12, then 20 when love appoints it. The purpose is not to graduate to 20 and boast. The purpose is to abide. The frequency is not a trophy. It is familiarity. Familiarity stabilizes grace. You will come to know the feel of the invisible, the way a musician knows when the instrument is in tune before a single song is played. Then the day's symphony proceeds. Land and sea and air, kitchen and clinic and street rests nestled among notes, presence governing all. Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world, and into the next minute, and into this one, now, and now, and now. Now, because love is practical and God is gentle, let us have an on-ramp so soft that no heart shrinks from it. If you are entirely new, begin with 3 pauses in a day, morning, midday, evening. Despise not the day of small things, Zechariah 4:10. We are not proving zeal. We are cultivating familiarity. 30 seconds, perhaps 60, perhaps 90. But for these first days, do not tug on length. Let the pauses fit like comfortable shoes. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. Luke 16:10. The least is not little in God. It is a window through which the infinite blows its quiet wind across your field. In the morning, before you touch a device or a duty, touch God. At midday, Before you answer the next demand, answer the presence. In the evening, before you hand yourself to sleep, hand the day back to the one who kept it all along. 3. And keep them true. Not performance, but presence. Not tally, but tenderness. Not making silence, but entering. Silence already there. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Matthew 11:28-30. You will feel how the mind loosens its grip, and the heart remembers its native rhythm. After a few days, when the instrument recognizes the tuning note, add by frequency, not by force. 4. Then 5. Do not stretch the minutes. Let the pauses multiply the way breath multiplies without strain, one and then another. Then when love appoints it, 8. Later 10. Later still, 12. And in season 20. We are not lengthening the rests to prove devotion. We are allowing the rests to keep the music in tune. Add pauses before you add length. The point is not to camp in the closet until the world seems holy. It is to carry out from the closet the recognition that the world already is held in the holy. What of the pause you miss? What of the hour that rushes past, swallowing the little silence you had promised? There is no courtroom in God. There is only the next breath and the unchanging welcome. Return unto me, and I will return unto you. Malachi 3-7. Clean and clear, no penalties, only presence. His compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Lamentations 3:22-23, and new every minute. A musician does not scold the instrument for a slipped note. He simply returns to the key. A heart that stumbles does not vow never to beat again. It returns to rhythm and goes on. So with you, every return is success, because presence is the point, not the unbroken streak, but the unbroken source. Not the flawless ledger, but the faithful love that meets you at once when you turn. If you wish, take a double portion on Sunday, not a burden of length, simply a lingering of the breath within each silence. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 20-8. Not as law laid upon the back, but as love resting in its own center. If on the weekday you sit for half a minute, on Sunday let it be half a minute and an extra piece, half a minute and an extra yes. The manna of that day, you will find, does not spoil. It seasons the week. But if Sunday is busy with family or travel, do not make a new law. Make a gentler consent. Perhaps the double portion is not in length at all, but in tenderness, twice the softness, twice the trust. Keep the aim pure. This is not a scout badge to be earned. This is not a spreadsheet of pieties to be admired. 7 times a day do I praise thee. Psalm 119-164. Is not an arithmetic of merit. It is a way of saying always. We are not counting to make God count us. We are consenting to be counted in what already is won. Watch the anxious bookkeeper in the mind. Watch him lay down his pencil when you say, I and the Father are one. Not grade, but grace. Not urgency, but quiet confidence. Not pushing, but yielding. The cadence is love's way of keeping you available. So from 3 to many, we go not by ambition, but by attraction. We expand frequency without strain. We return and return again, because the one to whom we return is our own. Life returning us to ourself. Missed pauses dissolve in the pause you keep now. Length bows to love. Numbers bow to knowing, and in each little turning, the anxious, clock-bound self loosens like a knot in warm water, until the day lives itself from the infinite now. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. I and the Father are one. Yes, again. And now, begin before beginning. When consciousness returns from sleep, before a single word forms, let one breath testify, I and the Father are one. Not later, not after coffee, not when the mind feels ready. Now, one soft inhalation that is not a grasping, but a remembrance. One exhalation that releases the night and the day into the one. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 118-24. The day is not made at 9. It is given now. Before Abraham was, I am. The identity that wakes in that breath is older than the clock. And in that ancient new awareness, the anxious, clock-bound self is gently unseated before it can climb into the driver's chair. Rise and wash. And when the face is fresh and the hands are ready, do not rush to touch the world. Give 60 seconds to stillness, a first fruit of the morning, and let the heart say without strain, Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Not a charm, a consent. In that minute, we are not making a plan. We are recognizing a kingdom. We are not plotting a sequence of efficiencies. We are yielding to an order that precedes our lists. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. The things are not despised. They are set in rank. I am not making the stars come out, nor the moon to rise, nor the sun to set. I am perfectly content to let God run the universe, and this email, this school drop-off, this spreadsheet. In that minute, tasks cease to be lords and become servants. The mind rests from manufacture. The divine impulse begins to be felt. Before you open messages, pause at the gate. Behold God as the only power. Not people as power. Not inbox as power. Not headlines as power. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46-10. That knowing is not another opinion to add to the thread. It is the dissolving of imagined authority in things. The subject lines will come like small waves. Let them spend themselves on the shore of a realized one. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. Isaiah 54-17 is not warfare. It is the announcement that there is no second power to contest the first. As you touch the screen, say inwardly, I and the Father are one. And watch how urgency thins, how clarity rises, how the unnecessary answers itself by not needing to be answered at all. Now to the first steps down the hall, to the car, onto the train, into the street. Walk in awareness, land or sea or air, the same presence. Your hallway is a cloister. Your sidewalk, a gentle aisle. Let each footfall be a bead on the string of now. Here, still, here, only here. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Psalm 23-4. Not with me there later, with me here now. The rowboat of tasks will move. The balloon of awareness remains. Traffic is not an enemy. Delay is not a thief. They are bells calling you to the altar of a 30-second beholding. Lo, I am with you alway, even unto the end of the world. Matthew 28-20. The world of schedules may end and begin, but the I am does not. Before the first call, before the first meeting, let there be a small closing of the eyes, a shorter silence than the greeting that will follow. Enter with, Cum speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. And then do not manufacture what to say. Take no thought how or what ye shall speak. For it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. Matthew 10:19. The mind becomes instrument again. The answer is not hammered out, it is given. A sentence arrives already rounded. A question arises that dissolves the problem more mercifully than any argument. A calm tone does more work than 10 clever points. And when you hang up, seal the moment with the inward doxology, thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. This is the morning rule, not law, life. Begin before beginning. Root the waking in oneness, the washing in consent, the messages in only power, the walking in awareness, the speaking in reception. The day will still be a day, animals and vegetables and minerals, budgets and breakfasts and briefings, but its government will be God. God works in the infinite nowness. Let every early pause be your most positive yes to that fact. I and the Father are one. Thine is the kingdom. Yes again. And now. Now comes the middle of the day, the world at full tilt, and it seems a poor time to pause. That is why we pause. Interruptions are altars. The very clang of utensils, the shuffle of trays, the calendar chiming noon bells of a monastery hidden in office and shop and street. Before a single bite, let there be a beholding, not gratitude to correct a lack, but recognition that supply already is. Give us this day our daily bread. Matthew 6:11. Is not a beggar's request. It is a son's remembrance that the table stands within an infinite kitchen. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. Psalm 24:1. Not from the market first, not from the paycheck first, not from the effort first. First from God, who is indivisible, life infinitely expressed. Enter with, I and the Father are one. Be still for a breath, and let the visible plate be a symbol of invisible sufficiency, already complete. Eat, then, as one who knows the source. Chew with unhurried kindness. If you speak with a friend, let the words be easy, not grasping. If you eat alone, let solitude be companionship, not vacancy. And when the last taste is taken, give the body what it asks from God, not from headlines. 60 seconds of silence to digest in peace. Seal the meal with, thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, not as dessert, as dominion. In that minute, the stomach is permitted its work without the acid of anxiety. The mind is spared the whip of news. The heart is led beside still waters. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:2-3. Restoration is not another task. It is a government we consent to feel. Now the messages begin to press contracts, to send words, to commit, consequences to set in motion. The human habit is to hurry the arrow from the bow and call it efficiency. We will not do that. Before any consequential message goes out, rest until a felt inward. Yes, arises 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 90 if you are led. My sheep hear my voice. John 10:27. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. If the yes comes, you will know it. Not fireworks, a quiet alignment. Not pressure, a rightness. Then send, and let the action be the echo of peace. If the yes does not come, wait. not as delay, as devotion. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Psalm 27-14. The mind is not creator. It is an instrument. Let the music cue the note. Mid-afternoon arrives like a soft deflation, the slump, the stare, the reach for sugar, or a cup that promises salvation. Exchange stimulant for silence. 90 seconds. Hands open, eyes at rest, breath gentle. Receive, do not seize. Life, love, activity are not in the cup, they are in God. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Isaiah 40-31. Let the eagle rise while the body sits. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Not the jolt, not the buzz. In those 90 seconds, you are not a weary engine taking fuel. You are a window cleared so the sun may warm the room again. And when you open your eyes, you do not have more you. You have less you and more God enough. Now see how urgencies line up at the counter and pretend to be kings, deadlines with scepters, faces with demands, conditions with wagging fingers. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46-10. Not they, God. Consciously reject every suggestion of power in person or thing or condition. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. John 19:11. This is not defiance of people. It is fidelity to one. Speak within to the storm. Peace be still, Mark 4:39. And watch how authority returns to its rightful throne, not in the outer office, but in the inner sanctuary. Urgency is noise. Authority is quiet. Urgency is push. Authority is presence. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. Zechariah 4-6. So the noon hour and its kin become sacraments of sequence. Before food, behold supply. After food, seal with kingdom. Before sending, wait for yes. At the slump, rest into strength. In the press, enthroned, the only power. Interruptions are altars. Sacred pauses transmute urgency into inward authority. And all the while, without trumpet or banner, the anxious, clock-bound self loosens another knot, and life reorders itself from the infinite now. I and the Father are one. Thine is the kingdom. God works in the infinite nowness now and now and now. Evening comes, and with it the tender office of laying things down. Before you leave the place of your labor, let there be a brief release, 30 seconds, perhaps less, perhaps a full minute of honest relinquishment. I am perfectly content to let God run the universe. Say it within as you glance at the desk, the tools, the open loops that would whisper, stay. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. Psalm 55-22. You are not abandoning duty. You are returning the world to the one who carried it before you touched it. Seal it with, thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Walk out not as one who leaves things undone, but as one who entrusts all to the only power. Take therefore no thought for the morrow, Matthew 6:34. Tomorrow will find you better found because you did not carry it through the night. At the threshold of home, pause at the door, hand on the knob, head slightly bowed in the heart, cross from roles into being. Bring presence home. Let the name tags and masks fall away. Let the house be entered by the I that is before names. Before Abraham was, I am. John 8:58. Enter with, I and the Father are one. Linger without language. As the latch clicks, do not carry the office into the kitchen. Carry the kingdom into the room. See the faces, child, partner, friend, neighbor, not as demands, but as fellow lamps lit from one flame. The floor is ordinary wood, but you step on holy ground because awareness precedes you. Before dinner, set the table and then set the heart. 60 seconds of beholding, no speeches, no performance. Companionship in Christ, not in conversation alone. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Matthew 18:20. Let that be the unseen guest and host. Give us this day our daily bread, Matthew 6:11, is not a scarcity prayer. It is the remembrance that supply is already present. Look at the plate and behold the invisible feeding itself through visible forms. Eat then, not hurried as if chased, but simple as one cared for. When the last bite is taken, give thanks without fuss. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, and let digestion happen in peace. If the light lingers, take a twilight walk, street or field, garden or stoop, land and sea and air, one life. The sky soft dimming is not an ending. It is a sanctuary bell. Whisper, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. Psalm 23:2-1-3. And then let Romans sing. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor things present, nor things to come, shall be able to separate us from the love of God. Romans 8:35, 38, 39. Let the words be less recited than recognized. You are not moving through evening. Evening is moving through God, and you in God. The air cools, the heart warms, the rowboat of tasks ties up, the balloon of awareness remains steady above hours and shadows alike. Now the bed, gentle ark on a quiet sea. Lay down the day as you would lay a child in sleep, without argument, with tender assurance. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Psalm 4-8. Exhale the day with, I and the Father are one, not a claim to ward off danger, a homecoming to what already is. Let plans for tomorrow dissolve into obedience to now. So he giveth his beloved sleep. Psalm 127-2. If thoughts clamor at the edge, do not litigate. Let the cadence do its work. 30 seconds of consent, then the body takes its cue. Take no thought for the morrow is not neglect. It is trust. God works in the infinite nowness, and even sleep is a sacrament when offered to that nowness. Thine is the kingdom, thine the power, thine the glory. So we end as we began. Return to quiet, not quitting life, but letting life live us. The day that was woven with pauses is gathered now into the great pause, and the anxious, clock-bound self loosens like a knot in warm water. We lay down the tools, the words, the faces, and discover that nothing necessary is lost. It is all kept where it always was within the one. Go to sleep in God and wake in God. I and the Father are one. Thine is the kingdom. God works in the infinite nowness, now, and now, and now. Now we must see what the silence changes. Not God, not reality. God is before your pause and after it. Before Abraham was, I am. John 8:58. The silence does not persuade the infinite. It loosens the knot in our seeing. It corrects the lens. Hear the radical word that dehypnotizes the senses. You have never seen a tree. You have seen your concept of a tree height and bark and leaf and shade, the sway that pleases you in summer, the barrenness that worries you in winter. But the tree itself, the spiritual idea called tree, changeless, perfect, forever rooted in the one you have never seen. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. John 7:24. The silence trains you in righteous judgment, not by effort, but by beholding. And the same with you. This is not you. This is yours. The body you wash, the hands you use, the face, the mirror presence. These are instruments, garments, vessels. You are the eye that looked through infant eyes, then youth's, then today's, and found itself unchanged, aware, indivisible, the same. The things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. 2 Corinthians 4:18. The silence does not make the body safe. It reveals that yourself abides where harm cannot enter. You do not become spiritual. You discover that you are spirit's expression, one, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. Because God is the only power. Silence does not fix evil. It unveils the absence of a second power. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Not be still and beg. Be still and know. We do not summon a mighty deity to defeat an almost as mighty adversary. We rest, and resting, we watch the mask fall from the pretender. There is no wisdom nor understanding nor counsel against the Lord, Proverbs 21:30. When you withdraw your faith from appearances, their boast of authority collapses. We don't need any God to make harmony. Harmony already is. The silence is the chamber in which that fact is felt. How then does change present itself? As our concept yields to reality, appearances reorganize. The body that mirrored our belief in separation begins to mirror our recognition of oneness. Function eases, tension unwinds. The relationship that carried the weight of our private insistences softens as those insistences dissolve. A kinder speech arrives, or a quiet parting that hurts no one. The ledger that dramatized fear of lack now becomes an instrument of sufficiency because supply is seen to precede numbers. Do not set your heart on effects. Set your heart on God. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. The adding is not our business. The seeking, by which I mean the simple beholding, is our consent to reality. Answered prayer is the result of a divine impulse felt within, not the product of a human plan. This is why the cadence matters, not as magic arithmetic, but as compounding clarity. Each brief beholding cleans the window a little. Each returning polishes the lens. Each whispered, I and the Father are one, attunes the instrument again. Day by day, almost without announcement, the mind stops impersonating the Creator and rests as a receiver. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30-15. And as reception stabilizes, perception refines. You begin to notice how quickly the old picture dissolves when you refuse it oxygen, how gently the new form appears without your pushing. We all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image, from glory to glory. 2 Corinthians 3:18. Changed, not by hammer and chisel, but by beholding. Remember, we are not trying to make a better dream. We are waking to life that is already whole. The pauses do not manufacture holiness in hours. They reveal the holy that was never absent from a single hour. Judge not by the first surface you meet. Let the silence introduce you to the real. Hold your seat at the center point and watch the wheel turn without terror. If forms must rearrange, let them. The reality they symbolize remains. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. In our cadence of beholding, faith ceases to be strain and becomes recognition. So take your next small silence not to repair life, but to unveil life. Let appearances be what they are, moving pictures, and let reality be what it is, unchanging. Presence, as this becomes familiar, the anxious, clock-bound self loses its argument, and the day obeys the invisible with less resistance. God works in the infinite nowness. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. I and the Father are one now, and now, and now. Now comes the plain work of stabilization, guarding the gates, keeping the instrument clean for reception. Do not imagine that because you have said yes, the old habits will not ask for another round. They will, forgetting, fidgeting, outcome chasing. Greet each with mercy, not with a whip. His compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Lamentations 3:22-23. They are new every minute. The moment you notice, you forgot, you have remembered. The moment you see the fidget, you have already become the witness and not the fidgeter. The moment you feel the itch to make an outcome, bow your head and say within, I and the Father are one, and return. You are not called to wrestle your way back. You are called to come home. I will arise and go to my Father. Luke 15:18. Arise, go, and be met by the same love without lecture. The anxious bookkeeper will pick up the pencil and start counting results. Was that pause deep enough? Did it work? Lay the pencil down. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Not be still and measure, not be still and bargain, be still and know. If the legs twitch, let them. The silence is not fragile. If thoughts parade in costume, let them pass. The silence is not a tiny room crowded by clowns. You are not making silence. You are consenting to silence, that is. One breath, one remembrance. I and the Father are one. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Now build cues, because love is orderly, and the day loves holy anchors. Tie the pause to the door, hand on the knob, a breath of oneness. Tie the pause to meals. Before the first bite, behold supply. After the last, seal with thine is the kingdom. Tie the pause to messages. Before you open, only power. Before you send inward, yes. Tie the pause to meetings. Attend seconds. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. 1 Samuel 3-9. Tie the pause to walking. Each step a bead on the string of now. Tie the pause to bed. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. Psalm 4-8. Doors, meals, messages, meetings, walking, bed. The day becomes a rosary of presence. This is not rigidity. It is rhythm. It is the infinite now dripped into hours until hours are baptized into now. Curate your inputs. Read what lifts the spirit, not what inflates the emotion. Listen to scripture, to inspired recording, to poetry that opens the inner ear to the one, not to sound that addicts the nerves to stimulus. Whatsoever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, of good report, think on these things. Philippians 4-8. Let a psalm be your night watch. My soul shall be satisfied when I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches. Psalm 63-5-6. 5 minutes with a page that awakens reverence will do more for your practice than 50 with a screen that awakens craving. Feed the instrument what refines its tone. Lighten the noise. Withdraw from excess entertainment, not as virtue, as hygiene. Too many shows is not harmless. It is sand in the gears. Too many parties, too many scrolls, too many little excitements. These are a fog against reception. A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. Galatians 5-9. Simplify. Choose quiet over clamor when you can. Choose a walk over a whirl. Choose one honest conversation over 10 anxious updates. You are not fleeing the world. You are refusing to surrender your inner government to a theater of distractions. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30-15. Keep all day hygiene. Consciously reject every suggestion of power in person or thing or condition. When a headline shouts, answer within, God alone is power. When a diagnosis looms, answer within, God alone is power. When a personality performs sovereignty, charming or threatening, answer within, God alone is power. There is no power but of God, Romans 13-1. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above, John 19:11. Not defiance, fidelity, not denial of appearances, refusal to worship them. This is your quiet rebellion, your holy sanity, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. Zechariah 4-6. Set a watch upon your gates. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Psalm 141-3. Let the eyes be selective, the ears discerning, the tongue gentle, the heart guarded. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Proverbs 4:23. Gentle corrections and curated inputs keep the inner instrument tuned for reception. If you stumble, return. If you forget, return. If you chase, return. The cadence holds, the gates are guarded, and in the guarding, in the returning, in the simplification of sounds and sights, the anxious, clock-bound self grows quiet, and you feel the government of God steady, sufficient, already here. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. I and the Father are one now. God works in the infinite nowness, now, and now, and now. Now let us take a vow in ink. Write the vision, and make it plain upon tables. Habakkuk 2-2. Not a vow to strain, a vow to remember. Print a single page that will be your companion for 7 days. Across the top, the dates for this 1 week. Down the left, 3 bands. Morning, midday, evening. Beside each band, a clean row of empty little squares, more than you think you need, because grace will not be measured by scarcity. This is not a ledger of merit. It is a rosary of remembrance. Each checked square is not a trophy. It is a footprint in the infinite now. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Here is the ramp, gentle and sure. Days 1 and 2, 8 pauses each day. Let the rows welcome only 8 small marks. You are learning the gate. Days 3 and 4, 10 pauses. Add 2 more bells to the monastery hidden in your life. Days 5 and 6. 12 pauses. A fuller rhythm, not a whip, a waltz. Day 7. 20. A double portion celebration. Perhaps it is Sunday, perhaps not. The calendar is not Lord, but on that day, scatter 20 sacred interruptions like seed across the field, before doors, before food, before sending in the slump, at the gate, at the bed. God works in the infinite nowness. We make ourselves available now and now and now. Define the pause simply so that the mind does not tangle it. 30 to 90 seconds. Close the eyes if you can, lower them if you must. Turn within, not to think, but to consent. Whisper, no sound needed, I and the Father are one. John 10:30. Or, thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Matthew 6:13. Or, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. 1 Samuel 3-9. Then rest. No manufacturing. Let the mind be the instrument again. If a thought tries to help, smile and return to the Word. The Word is not magic. It is a key. The door it opens is presence that was never closed. Use the anchors you have already set. Hand on the door, a check mark and a breath. Before the first bite, a check mark and a beholding of supply. Before you send a consequential message, a check mark and a waiting for the inward. Yes, at mid-afternoon, a check mark and a replenishing silence. At the bed, a check mark and yielding the night to God. 8, 10, 12, 20 frequency births. Familiarity, and familiarity stabilizes grace. We are not adding burdens. We are noticing the one whose yoke is easy and whose burden is light. At the end of each day, leave 3 lines for a brief journal. First line, where did I feel inner quiet? Name 1 moment. Do not embellish. Second line, where did reactivity shift ease or flare? This is not a scold. It is a noticing. Third line, what grace moment did I glimpse, small or great? A sentence is enough. Do not grade outcomes. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46-10. Not be still and measure. These 3 notes are a listening, not a verdict. They train the attention to recognize reality's touch. Add to the page a daily anchor reading. Each morning or evening, read Romans 8:35-39 or Psalm 23 slowly as first-person realization. Let Romans become your voice. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? I am persuaded nothing shall be able to separate us from the love of God. Let Psalm 23 be not poetry only, but present fact. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want, for thou art with me. Read not to accumulate verses, but to awaken identity. Before Abraham was, I am. John 8:58. Scripture then ceases to be history and becomes now. Sign the page not to bind yourself to performance, but to free yourself to presence. A most positive yes. Yes, without mental hesitation or reservation. I am perfectly content to let God run the universe, and this week's schedule, these pauses, these check marks. If you miss a box, you have not missed God. Return and place the next mark with humility and joy. His compassions are new every morning. Lamentations 3:23. New every minute. And as the squares fill with simple ink, the anxious, clock-bound self finds it has fewer places to sit. Order rises without argument. Life reorders itself from the infinite now. I and the Father are one. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory now, and now, and now. And now we seal what has been given, not with strain, but with a most positive yes. I and the Father are one. John 10:30. I in thee, and thou in me. John 17:21. One, indivisible, infinitely expressed, infinitely manifest. Before Abraham was, I am John 8:58. Let the words be not recital, but realization. Let them move from lips to life. In this very breath, we accept our identity, not as a personal boast, but as a beholding of what God is being as us. We do not step out to conquer. We step into consent. We receive the government of God within, and we whisper, now, and now, and now. Rest, beloved, in the holy contentment that releases worlds from your shoulders. I am not making the sun to set, nor the moon to rise, nor the heart to beat. I am perfectly content to let God be God. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Matthew 6:13. Not ours to invent, but ours to reveal by quiet looking. Harmony already is. We abide to behold, not to build, to witness, not to wrestle. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. The pauses we carry are not incantations. They are windows open to the air that always was. When the window opens, the room does not manufacture wind. It receives what is already moving. So let your soul be a window. Let God blow where he listeth, John 3:8. And because God is one, we are not solitary lights. I and my fellow man are one brothers in Christ. There is no outside, no other. For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body. 1 Corinthians 12:13. We do not withhold our seeing from the so-called difficult faces. We let the one face be recognized where masks once troubled us. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, ye have done it unto me. Matthew 25-40. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. John 7-24. One life showing forth as neighbor and stranger, as friend and former foe. As this seeing stabilizes, antagonists lose a stage, and brothers return to their seat in Christ. We are not making peace. We are discovering it. Carry then the cadence, not as a task, but as your name. 8, 10, 12, 20. These were never merely numbers. They are the loving lattice upon which the vine of your day climbs toward the sun. In every brief silence, the one life lives you. In every returning, the shepherd finds his sheep. My sheep hear my voice. John 10:27. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Isaiah 30-15. Meet each hour with a pause of praise. Hand on the door. Thine is the kingdom. Before the word is sent, speak, Lord. At the slump, I and the Father are one. At the bed, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. Psalm 4-8. These are not ceremonies for better hours. They are acknowledgments that all hours belong to the holy. So go in this assurance. Nothing shall be able to separate you from the love of God. Romans 8:39. The Lord is your shepherd. You shall not want. Psalm 23-1. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. John 14:27. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. Zechariah 4-6. Walk gently and without hurry, for God works in the infinite nowness, now and now and now. Let every bell of the common day be a bell of the monastery within. When you forget, return. When you return, you find you were never gone. One life, one love, one mind, expressing itself as your seeing, your speaking, your silence. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.